All right. I want to welcome everybody to How to Close 9 out of 10 Cash Value Life Insurance Sales, presented obviously by the Insurance Pro Shop. My name is Lew Nason, and my sons and I are the creators of the Insurance Pro Shop and Farm Money Management, and this a little bit about us. We work a lot with MDRT people that have come to our boot camps, and this is what they had to say about us. I'll leave that on the screen for a second if you want to read it. My sons and I have been featured in the IARF Register magazine. We've been, Brian Tracy recommends us, and Mehdi Fakhrizadeh, the #1 agent in the insurance industry or in the U.S., also recommends us. So, but my question to you is, do you want to be closing more and larger cash value life insurance sales in just a few days from now? How nice would that be? What would it mean to you and your family if you closed one additional case per week for $3,000 or more in commissions? If you want to be able to do that, then it's all about learning how to ask the right questions to get your prospects to tell you about their problems, tell you what they really want, so they'll practically sell themselves. My son just told me to hold on. Excuse me? Let me know when to start, Jeremy. Do I need to do it? It says,
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
all right, I want to welcome everybody to How to Close 9 out of 10 Cash Value Life Insurance Sales, presented by the Insurance Pro Shop. My name is Lew Nason, and I am, my sons and I are the creators of the Insurance Pro Shop and the Farm Money Management System. All right, I've been doing this for 30 years, and my sons have been doing it, Jeremy, for 17 years with me, and Will for, I believe, 12 years. And we've worked with a lot of agents. People like MDRT Qualifier, Tony Brazil. We're talking about some of the most elite producers in the industry are using our systems and coming to our boot camps and buying our fact-finding DVDs. And they rave about them, as you can see by the testimonials here. We've been very fortunate to have been featured in the IARFC Register magazine just this past September. People like Brian Tracy and Mehdi Fakhrizadeh, the #1 agent in the insurance industry, recommends us. So let's get this right to the point here. Do you want to be closing more and larger cash value life insurance sales in just a few days from now? Would you? What would it mean to you and your family if you could close one additional case per week for $3,000 or more in commissions? Remember, I just said per week. So if you would close $3,000 sale per one $3,000 sale per week, how much would that be per year? About $150,000. And that's what you're going to learn today, and how to do that, and how to do it simply. It's all about asking the right questions to get your prospects to tell you about their problems, to tell you what they really want, so they practically sell themselves. It's all about asking the right questions so they understand their problems. Because if they don't have a problem, or see they have a problem and understand their problems, is there any reason for them to do anything? We want to help, by asking questions, we want to help our prospects to understand their problems so that they want to set a better priorities so they'll practically sell themselves. So you won't have to sell them. Remember that people buy based on emotions and justify the decisions based on logic. Now think about it. I know that I need to lose weight. Need is logical, right? But until I want to lose weight, am I going to lose any weight? And that's emotions. Want is an emotion, isn't it? So something has to happen that makes me want to lose weight. For example, my doctor would say that I'm going to die if I don't lose some weight, or or I've got an event to go through so I want to look my best. So something has to happen emotionally for me to want to do it. Another way to look at it is, we all know we need transportation. We need a car to get around in. Now that's logical. But do we buy just what we need, or do we buy what we want? If we just bought what we needed for transportation, we'd probably all be driving a Yugo or something along those lines, just an inexpensive car. But is that what we're doing? Most of us buy the cars that we want, a much bigger car than what we actually need. So people buy based on emotions and then justify the decision based on logic. So right now what we're going to go through is a Brian and Heather case. And this is an actual case. Heather is a school teacher. Brian works for his father. She just had her second child, and they decided that she was going to take a leave of absence for teaching. The problem they had was their health insurance was through the school system. So they needed to get an individual health plan. So they called up Nick, who was with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Florida, and Nick went out and sold them health insurance. And while he was there, after he got all done selling the health insurance, he asked him, as long as I'm here, what do you have for life insurance? And she said, don't even talk to me about life insurance. My mother's with Primerica. I only believe in term insurance. I'm not interested in cash value life insurance. And Nick didn't know what to do, so he said, thank you very much. And he said, as soon as I get the health insurance issued, I will give you a call, and I'll come out and deliver the health insurance policy. So 4 or 5 weeks later, he gets the health insurance issued, and calls them up and sets an appointment. And then he calls me and asks me if I will go out with him on the case. And the reason he asked me to go out on the case is I have been training the agents in his office, telling them that you can sell cash value life insurance to anybody as long as you ask enough of the right questions and get them talking about what they really want for their future. And basically, he wanted me to put my money where my mouth was. So that's why he asked me to go out on the case with him. So we go out on the case. He delivers the health insurance. And after it gets all done, I asked Brian and Heather, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a few questions. And they looked at me strange but said, okay. Now, I start off each one of my fact-finding interviews talking about retirement. What I'm trying to do always is help people see the problems they're facing and help uncover a problem so that they can see that I'm there to work in their best interest. So the sooner I can find a problem, the better. So I always start off talking about retirement because that's a problem almost everybody has. So I asked them what they were doing for retirement, and they told me they had a 401k and a 403b and a simple IRA and some stocks. Excuse me. And I asked them how things were going with that, and they said not too well. Well, if you look at the date of this was in June 2002, and if you remember, that's when the stock market had just taken a big dump, just like it did in 2008, and most people lost 40 or 50% of their money. So when I asked them how things were going, they told me not too well. And I said, oh, what's the problem? And they told me they'd been losing a lot of money in the stock market. They were sick of it. They didn't know what they were going to do. So I asked them if they had their statements for their investments, and they told me they didn't. So I said, well, if you want to get them, I'll be happy to review them with you at some other time. And they said, they thought that they might want to do that. And so then we got talking about whether they still wanted to put money away for retirement with Heather not working, whether they're still going to be able to put money away. And they told me they still wanted to put $2,000 away, and they thought probably in a Roth IRA. And I asked them, well, based on what's been going on, what would you feel comfortable for a rate of return today? And they told me if they could get 4 or 5%, they'd be very happy. And isn't that about what, if you were talking to people today, isn't that about what they tell you? So then the next thing I talked about was saving for college. Is that another problem that people with children, most people with children have? And so again, I want to help them see the problems they're facing so they want to take action. So we talked about saving for college. Both of them were college graduates, and they agreed that they want to save money for college, but with her not working right now, they weren't sure they were able to do that. So then we talked about how much debt they had and how much income taxes they were paying, and I asked them about that, and they didn't have all that much debt and so forth. But I talked about refinancing their home to reduce their debt and to reduce their income taxes, and they weren't sure that they wanted to do that. They weren't sure that was a good idea. And so then I asked Brian how things were going at work and what he did, and he told me he worked for his father, and they were doing replacement windows or something like that. And I asked him how things were going, and he told me not too well. So I asked him what the problem was, and he told me that they had so much business that they couldn't even handle it all, and his stepmother wouldn't release any money so they could hire more employees. So then I asked, well, let me ask you then, Brian, if something were to happen to your father and he was no longer in the picture, what would happen to the business? And he just looked at me and said, oh, shit. And pardon my French, but that's exactly what he said. I said, why? And he told me, well, my stepmother won't release any money now if my father was no longer in the picture being possible. So I asked him if he ever heard of a buy-sell agreement. And he said no, so I explained basically what that was, and he thought it was a great idea. So I said, well, talk to your father, and if he would like to talk more about it, give me a call, and I'll be happy to go over it with you and your father. So then I asked him, if Brian, if you were disabled tomorrow and couldn't work, you fell off a ladder or got hit by a car or whatever, and you couldn't work for the next 6 months to a year, what would happen? And Heather says that wouldn't be good with me not working. So we talked about at least getting a 2-year disability protection policy. And they thought that was probably something they should do. So now I get up to the life insurance, and I ask them how much, what they had for life insurance, and Heather pops up, don't even talk to me about life insurance. My mother's with Primerica, or I'm not interested in cash value life insurance. The same thing as she had told Nick. And I said, I understand. Well, let me ask you, what do you have for life insurance? And she said, well, we have $500,000 on Brian, $250 on me. And I asked them what kind of policy it was. They told me a 20-year term, and I asked them what they were paying for it. And then we talked about, excuse me, how much life insurance they really needed. And so we got into that conversation, and they agreed they probably needed more, but they weren't sure they could afford more at this time. And so I said, well, if I could show you how to save a little money on the life insurance, would that be of interest to you? And they said they would consider it. So now I'm all done with my fact find. Now you notice all I did was ask questions. I didn't try to convince them about permanent life insurance. I didn't talk about any other investments. I didn't argue with them about anything, did I? All I did was ask questions and got them to talk about what they wanted. So I told them, all right, after I'm all done here, what I told them was, well, if I heard you correctly, you wanted to put $2,000 away into a Roth IRA. Is that right? And you want, if I could save you a little on your life insurance, you'd consider that. Right now, if you could, you're tired of losing money in the stock market. If I could help you stop losing some money, you would consider that. And we need disability protection. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this all back to my office, all this information, and come back with my best recommendations. Is next week at the same time good for you? And they said yes. So what I did is I go back, and this is what I type up for every single client. Now remember, people buy based on emotions and justify the decision based on logic. When I did my fact find, did I get them emotionally involved? Did I get them to think about their problems? And I hope you will say yes. And that's the whole point here. And so when I go back the second time, for my second call, I need to get them emotionally involved again. So I need to review what we talked about at the first meeting. Plus, I want to show that I'm a professional. If you go back with just a yellow pad, legal pad, with just some writing on it saying that here's what we talked about, is that being a professional? Does that show them that you really listened? So you want to type this up for every single client, no matter what client it is. So for every single case, you want to do this. And when I went back, I reviewed this with them. Now, I don't hand them each a sheet. I just reviewed one sheet with them. I will give them this later on, but I want them to stay right with me. So I just have one sheet that we both all look at. All right? So when I got there, I want to thank you for allowing me to do this. And Here's what I've come up with. But first of all, let's look at what we talked about the last time. You told me that you wanted to save $2,000 a year in a Roth IRA. Is that correct? And as long as you get 4 or 5% on that money, you'd be very happy with that, right? And right now, you've got $500,000 of insurance on Brian, $250,000 on you, Heather, and you felt that that was probably enough for right now. And but if I could save you a little money on that, you consider it, right? Yep. Excuse me. And right now, oh, did you get your statements for your 401k and your 403b and stuff? And Heather told me, yep, we called for them, but they told us it'd be 3 or 4 weeks before we could get them. So I said, well, as soon as you get them, if you want me to go over with you, I'd be happy to do that. And we talked about disability protection, and I talked about saving for college, and we went through all that. And I got down to the buy-sell agreement, and I said, oh, Brian, did you talk to your father about the buy-sell agreement? And Heather goes, thank you very much. And I go, what happened? Brian says, well, I talked to my father about the buy-sell agreement. He thought it was a great idea and said he would talk to my stepmother, and he did. She said, no way, so I quit my job. So I'm thinking at this point, this whole case just went down the tubes. Right? But Heather pops up and says, no, I want to thank you very much. I didn't realize how much stress Brian was under working for his father. And then Brian says, I didn't realize it either, so I quit my job. I went back to nursing, and even though I'm making a little bit less money, because I don't have the expenses and the travel and everything with my father, we're actually a little bit better off. So I dodged the bullet on that one. All right? So let's go to the next page. All right? All right. This second page, I cover up everything but what the current insurance and savings options are. I do not want them looking ahead. I want them following along with me. All right? So I said, to them, right now, Brian, you've got a 20-year term. You're paying $825 to $500,000 of life insurance. So over the next 20 years, you're going to pay $16,500 in premiums. And because it's term insurance, there's no cash value, and the term insurance ends. And Heather, you have $250,000 worth of life insurance. You're paying $195 for it. So over the next 20 years, you're going to spend $3,900, and at the end of 20 years, it ends, and there's no cash value because it's term insurance. And if you put $2,000 away a year into a Roth IRA, over the next 20 years, you're going to put in $40,000, and if we're lucky enough to get 5% on that, you'll have $69,438. Well, let's think about this for a second, because between the life insurance and your IRA, you're spending $3,000 or $3,020 for $750,000 of life insurance, and you're going to have spend $60,400. So really, you're going to make about $9,000. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But let me show you what I think is a better idea. You're going to spend the same $3,020, not a penny more or a penny less. You're going to have the same $500,000 on you, Brian, same $250,000 on you, Heather. And over the next 20 years, you're going to spend the same $60,400. The difference is this is going to be worth almost $87,000. So instead of making $9,000, you'll make $27,000. Now, which one would you prefer? Which one makes more sense to you? obviously they thought the Aviva or Maris Life contract was a better option. Why wouldn't they? If they're spending the exact same amount of money, have the exact same amount of life insurance, and it builds better cash value, why wouldn't they want to do that? And if that's all there was to it, this is a pretty good plan. Well, let's take a look at some of the other advantages, and now look at the notes. You got tax-free access prior to 59.5, and no 10% early withdrawal penalties as with the Roth IRA. Brian has $300,000 of insurance that goes on forever, and he does not have to requalify as with term. All right. Remember that the term insurance that he has now ends in 20 years, so at the end of 20 years he has absolutely no life insurance. And withdrawals from a Roth IRA would be a taxable event and could reduce their eligibility for college financial aid. Withdrawals from life insurance will not reduce the eligibility for college financial aid. Now let's go back to the life insurance for a second. Because you can blend, and that's all I did here, was blend life insurance, a permanent plan with term riders. Now this could have been a whole life. In this case, it's an indexed whole life, but it could have been an indexed UL. Doesn't matter. What you want to do is, in this case, we did $300,000 base policy with a $200,000 term rider on him and a $250,000 spouse rider on her. Now, this could have been, $100,000 whole life with a $400,000 term rider on him and a $250,000 spouse rider on her. You blend it and overfund it up to the MEC guidelines, all right, so that it beats whatever they're doing it on the top. So if that Roth IRA had been a 6 or 7% return or an 8% return, I still could have beaten it by just however I blended it so that it would have more cash value buildup. Now think about it. Is it, is a sale better than no sale? So I kept this simple. In this case, it was a $3,000 commission sale. But if I had blended it differently, it might have been only $2,000 or $1,000 sale. But again, is a sale better than no sale? The other point is, it's much easier to sell a client than it is a prospect, isn't it? So I want to make them a client. So I want to find the easiest, simplest way to make them a client. Now, obviously, on the term insurance, all that term insurance on the top, what they currently have, ended in 20 years. So I want to show those term riders as ending in 20 years so that I'm comparing apples to apples. I don't want to get into the discussion whether permanent life insurance is better than term insurance, or whether the term insurance premiums are going to go up, or they're going to need life insurance for the rest of their life. I don't want to get into any of those discussions. I just want to make it as simple as possible for them to buy. Does that make sense? Now think about this. Other than the health insurance, would most agents have made a commission on this sale? When the minute they found out that the mother was a Primerica agent and they only believed in term, I mean, they might have got a term sale out of it if they really pushed. But that's about it, right? Or maybe a Roth IRA sale, and they might have made $100 on that. The agent made $3,000 on this case, just up front, just by finding the easiest way to make them a client. Now think about it. Is this a pretty typical example out there? When you're talking to people, most people buying term insurance and then saving money in a 529 plan, 401k, or if they're not being matched on, or overfunding a 401k, or maybe put into an IRA, a 529 plan, put next towards their mortgage, whatever. Or they agree after you talk to them, they agree they want to be putting money away for retirement and want to put it in mutual funds or Roth IRA or whatever. All right, so this is a pretty typical example. And if that's the case, if you were to show them with what they're doing now, spending the same amount of money, how they can do it better, why wouldn't they do this? Especially when you don't get into any of the typical arguments of whether they're going to need permanent life insurance later or they're going to need, cash value life insurance is better. All I want to do and help you do is to make them a client. Now let me tell you the rest of the story. First of all, I got down to the disability insurance. And I said the disability insurance is going to cost you about $67 a month. And they just said, okay. So the agent ended up making another $200 or so on that case. So now we're up over $3,000 in commission. Well, let's think about it. Why did they, when I got down to the disability insurance, they just say okay? Because hadn't I already gained their trust? Showed them I knew what I was talking about? I had already made them a client, right? So this is, again, if you just close one of these cases a week, just one, you found one family that had a situation like this, and you actually typed up the first page, then typed up the second page, and showed them how they could do it better. If you only did one case per week, and you made $3,000, again, that's $150,000 a year, isn't it? Now, how many people do you have to be talking to in order to sell one case? I can tell you that most of the agents I'm working with are only doing 5 new appointments a week. You heard me correct. 5 new appointments a week. So that means 5 new appointments and 5 second calls. And that's the max, by the way, that they're doing. So if they only close 1 a week for a minimum of $3,000, and the average case, by the way, is between $3,000 and $7,000 when you learn how to do this. And I'm talking about commissions now. So if they only close 1 case a week for $3,000, so that's $150,000. If they close 2 cases per week, that would be $300,000, wouldn't it? And 4 would be $450,000, and so 3 would be $450,000, and so forth. I can tell you, if you really learn how to do this, and you are out there really helping people. By the way, did I really help this person? Do they feel I really helped them? Right? And I can tell you they did, because let me tell you the rest of the story. About 4 weeks later, I went out, Rosemary and I went out to dinner, and this couple walks up to me and says, "How you doing, Lou?" And after about 30 seconds, Heather looks at me and says, "You don't even know who I am, do you?" And I said, "No, I apologize." And she said it with a smile on her face. And she says, "I'm Heather." "Oh, Heather and Brian, I'm sorry. How are the babies doing?" And she said, "Fine," and everything. And she says, "We finally got our statements on our 401k and all the other stuff. Can we get together next week?" And I said, "Yep, that's no problem. Just give me a call at my office. And can we buy you dinner?" And I said, "No, you don't have to do that." And they said, "Oh, no, we really want to buy you dinner." What does that tell you about them? Did I really get them emotionally involved? Did they feel like I really helped them? Do they feel like I really listened to them? Do they feel like I'm a professional? Now, over the next 4 to 6 months, the agent made another $12,000 on this case. Let me say that again. Over the next 4 to 6 months, the agent made another $12,000 on this case. We ended up moving all their investment money into indexed annuities and fixed annuities. We ended up converting the term, $250,000 of term on Heather and to a permanent plan, and ended up getting more life insurance on her and more life insurance on him. All right, we ended up refinancing the home and paying off all their debts. So, but would any of that have happened if I hadn't done something like this? If I really hadn't listened to them and helped them to get emotionally involved and see the problems they're facing? Would most agents have made a commission on this case other than the health insurance? All right. Well, let's open this up to questions.
All right. I have a couple of good questions for you so far. Marianne asks, why would they not give this to the sister to review?
You
or
mean
the mother?
Stepmother?
Yeah.
I mean the mother-in-law? Because I already showed them apples to apples comparison, same premium. Their mother had said that they would be better off the other way, and I already showed it to them without arguing about it, without, telling them their mother was wrong. Did I tell them to say anything about the mother or anything else? I just showed them there was a better way to do it. So, no, they never went back to her mother. I don't know what they did with their mother. They just probably didn't renew the term.
Okay. Why aren't they asking if the $69,000 is guaranteed or how you arrived at that amount?
The $69,000, I could have showed it to them, and it's all it is a calculation at 5%.
Okay.
All right. There's no, if you're really listening to people, not arguing with them, and they feel you're really listening to them and getting them emotionally involved and not just trying to scare them, but really getting them talking about what they want. It isn't hard to get them on your side or for them to feel like you're on their side so that they're not going to question what you're doing. That you start building that trust factor, that relationship. When you just are out there selling, all right, and just trying to sell a product, now they're defensive. When you're out there helping them and talking about what they want, asking them about how things are going at work, with their investments, and not just telling them what they should do, but helping them to come to that realization, the realization that they needed more life insurance, the realization they had a problem with him working for his father, with the business, realization that they needed a disability plan. Did her mother talk to them about any of those things? And obviously the answer is no. So when you come across as a true professional, a true advisor, you're not going to have to worry about, all the objections and stuff that you normally get. And wanting them to go talk to their broker or their insurance other agent or their mother or family members or anything else. It's all about you really listening to them and becoming the true advisor in their eyes. I hope that message gets across loud and clear. because that is the difference here. Okay?
Okay. When it comes to signing them up for the annuity or life insurance, you have to show them the details and explain. I'm not sure what she's asking here. I'm assuming it's, what details are you showing them?
Okay. Required by law, you have to give an illustration, and you have to have them sign the illustration. So as I was going through this, all I did was show them that what the premium was on the illustration and where I got this cash value for in 20 years and then at age 65. And they signed the illustration, and I left it with them. It's not a big deal.
Okay. I had I guess a product question. Is the disability plan based on his nursing position?
Yeah, actually, the disability plan wasn't. It was based on his working for his father. So when he went back to nursing, is actually the cost of the disability plan actually went down.
Okay. And don't most underwriters require a 2 to 3 year income history for disability?
Not if you're if you're self-employed, they do. But if you're working as a nurse, no. And he had worked as a nurse before too, so.
Okay. All right.
And by the way, it depends on the companies and stuff. Like who do we use, Jeremy? Illinois Mutual?
Illinois Mutual, Union Central.
Yep.
Okay. Dale had a great question, or kind of. I'm not sure what he's asking again.
Just read it.
It was 2 parts here. The referral benefits of the system of selling, and just show the side benefits and incentive for the agent to use this philosophy.
Okay, I'm not sure what he's asking, but yeah, if you're out there really helping the client and not just being a product salesperson, if you're really helping them to understand their problems, set by the priorities, and showing them, how they could be much better off, are they going to talk about you to other people? And the answer is yes. And the more they talk to the friends and family about you, and then if they refer you to those people or give you their names, how much easier is it going to be to get an appointment? So, yeah, the more professional you become, the more you become the advisor that people want to see, the easier it is to get referrals and appointments from those referrals. I think that's what he was asking.
Yeah, he just wrote back, right, sorry, make the bag, but you hit it right in the head. All right. Okay, Marianne asked, what does the system include and how much does it cost?
Okay. There's a couple different ways you can do it. All right. When I was a branch manager for MetLife, and this is from '89 to 2003, I hired 23 brand new agents to this business. And I'm sorry to make this story long, but you'll see why I'm doing it in a second. And 10 years later, 18 of them were still in the business. So I hired 23 agents, and 10 years later, 18 of them were still in the business. And they were all making over 6-figure incomes. Now, if you're familiar at all with the industry, you'll know there's a 90 to 95% failure rate in the first 5 years. I had an 80% success rate over 10 years. Now, that is unheard of in this industry. Now, what I did is I started each one of them selling mortgage insurance. And it was the simplest way to learn, for them to really learn how to get in the door. Now, the mortgage insurance system that we have is $365 or $100 a month for 4 months. And it is exactly what I used to teach agents. It's the precursor to our bond money management system. It's just a simple way of getting in the door and really learning the basics of how to do a fact find and selling cash value life insurance as mortgage insurance. because you're doing the exact same thing as we have up here on the screen. So, and then how to, by the way, with that system, you get 3 months of coaching with me. And there's a lot in there about the questions you ask and everything. And we go through all that through our coaching and how to generate leads and all that. I mean, this is not a quick fix system. This is a short-term and long-term system. How to become the true advisor. Then we have fact-finding DVDs. Fact-finding DVDs are 6 hours or 7 hours of a 2-day course that we give on fact-finding, and really goes into how to do a real good fact-find. I mean, we're talking about 6 hours of real intensive learning that we did at a boot camp. And that is $265 or $100 a month for 3 months.
Okay. David asked the question, on the initial interview, do you have a set initial questionnaire that you take on every interview to find the problems or pain that they're having, or are these just basic beyond the rapport and just basic bonding and rapport type questions depending on the situation?
No. We actually have it all pretty much scripted out in a sense. I mean, the initial, when you first start off, it's before we get started, is there anything in particular you wanted to talk about? And they'll tell you, well, I thought you came here to sell mortgage insurance or carpets or whatever it is. Yep, came fully prepared to talk about that. But if I may, I'd like to explain a little bit about how I work and what I do. First of all, you can put your checkbook away because I'm not going to ask you to buy anything tonight. What I'd like to do is find out as much as I can about you and your situation so I can tailor my recommendations to meet your exact needs. Does that make sense? Now, didn't I just ask him if I could do a fact find on him? Then I start off with you talking about retirement. And we have a whole bunch of questions on the fact-finding DVDs, and in the system, we have the questions you would talk about and how you ask those. And yes, there is a logical progression you go through. You talk about their retirement first, their kids' education, how many kids they have and all that, and funding that. Then you talk about debt. And that's just a confidential financial needs analysis. And then we have that form, yes. And that's with the system and with the fact-finding DVDs. Now, obviously, the fact-finding DVDs are going to go into a much greater detail.
Okay. Marianne asks, are you having the boot camps that include the total program within a few days?
Yes. Thank you. Actually, on December 7th, 8th, and 9th, we are having a 3-day boot camp that goes through. The first day is all about prospecting and marketing and how to become the expert in your community and how to promote yourself and all that. That is the first day. The second day is all about fact-finding. So we're going to do about 8 hours of fact-finding and go through it in great detail. And then the third day is a wrap-up. You can actually, at our boot camps, you can actually qualify for a legitimate industry-wide recognized designation, registered financial consultant, which is very similar to the CFP or CLU, CHFC, or whatever, all those designations. It's a legitimate industry-recognized designation. And we are the only other company, other than the International Association of Registered Financial Consultants, we are the only company that can help you qualify for that designation. Did I answer that whole question, Jeremy?
I believe so.
Okay.
And that's the last question. That's all the questions I have.
All righty.
Oh, two more just came in.
Okay.
That was quick. Both the same question from Jean and Marianne. How much does the boot camp cost?
Oh, I'm sorry. The boot camp is $995, and that includes your lunch and your breakfast for those 2.5 days. We do it outside of Atlanta, so the hotels are right around $65, $70, Jeremy?
You lost me on that.
The hotels in our area.
They range from 75 and up.
Okay. And so, it's not like you doing it in Atlanta and it costs you, $150 a night. Plus, it's outside of Atlanta. So it's we do it in a bread and breakfast. It is a very nice location. It's nice and quiet. It's away from the hustle and bustle. I mean, we actually have husbands and wives that bring their spouses or girlfriends and everything and make it a week. Or spend the extra weekend or whatever. It is a very nice area, and there's a lot to do around here. But yeah.
Okay, Mary Ann asks, where in Georgia?
Dallas, Georgia. It's just 30 miles west of Atlanta. It's a little bit north, but it's mostly west of Atlanta.
Okay. Jean asks, can't make the one in December. When will the next one be?
The next one is in February, and
We'll have to email you the exact dates, Gene. I don't have them in front of me.
It's on our newsletter. It's February 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Oh.
Yeah. And by the way, you want to register early. You can put a $250 deposit down, and then we bill you for the rest of it 2 weeks before the event. But register early. We have been starting to fill up our events. We have people coming from all over the country. Actually, we've had people come from Canada and Asia and so forth. So this thing is starting. We only take 30 people so that we give you real individual attention. And it's Jeremy, myself, always, and Wally Cato, and then we normally have 2 or 3 other guest speakers.
All right, that's the wrap-up for the questions. I don't have any more coming in.
Okay. All right, I'll wait a minute just to see if there's any more questions. The boot camps, we've had MDRT, like Louis Wood, 40 years in the business, MDRT, lifetime member, and he just raved about the boot camp. We've had people like Randy Delph who've come to bought our systems, got the fact-finding DVDs, and then came to the boot camp. And Randy did, $270,000 of life premium within 2 months of the boot camp, about $190,000 of commissions. Not a bad 2 month. And by the way, and we have new agents that will do $20,000 and $30,000 a month after coming to the boot camp in commissions. So if you really want to learn to do the business right, you need a system. It's like playing golf. If you want to learn how to play golf, you get a book, and you have to get clubs, balls, gloves, shoes, all the tools you need, and then start practicing with them. That is our system. Then if you wanted to get really good at it, then you would come and get individual coaching. That is our boot camp.
All right. 2 more questions just came in.
Okay.
Marianne asked, can we make payments for the boot camp?
If you call us and talk to us, we are pretty easy to get along with, but we do that on an individual basis.
Okay. Dwayne asks, is the DVD material the same as the boot camp?
Yes, it is. All right. At the boot camp, we'll probably go into a little bit more, and like I have 5-minute presentations and stuff. The great thing about the DVDs, because I'm going to tell you, almost everybody that comes to the boot camp, if they don't have the DVDs, they end up buying them because you can't just hear it once. You don't want to just hear it once. how can you remember 2 days of intensive training? So we actually have a boot camp in the box, which is how much, Jeremy? I don't even know. Do you know?
That's a really good question. I'll have to look it up.
Okay. You're going to look it up while I'm talking here?
Yep, I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. We have a boot camp in a box, which is about, I think it's 7 or 8 hours of what used to be our 2-day boot camp, and we've extended it now, but that goes into all the basics on the marketing and the fact-finding. And then we have the fact-finding DVDs, which is 6 hours. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff is repeated in our DVDs, but, I mean, you need them. You need to keep on listening to them. I mean, I have, agents, again, 30 years in the business, they're listening to them at least once a month, and and then they'll call me and talk to me about it to get clarification on something, because we're always here to help. I shouldn't say never say never, right? But I can't remember the last time we said that, somebody called that we didn't help them. I don't care if they got a system or not. Please understand that. We're here to help. The problem is there isn't anybody really that cares. I shouldn't say anybody, but, that really wants to help agents today. They're all trying to make big bucks. I mean, you look at Misfortune, Infinite Banking, Circle of Wealth, an elite program. You're talking $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 within a couple years working with them. I mean, we're talking about you can get coaching, buy a system and get coaching, come to boot camp, and over a 2-year period, you might spend $2,500. Big difference. And you'll never get to talk to to the head guy. It's always be a flunky on the side. All right?
All right. The boot camp in a box DVDs is $355, or it can break up into 4 payments of $99.
Okay. All right. Any other questions out there, Jeremy?
I don't see any coming in.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for attending our webinar today. I hope you found it of interest and informative. If you get our systems, Jeremy will help you do this presentation or formulate this presentation for your first 3 or 4 cases to make it easy. And I can tell you right now, Jeremy, what do you got, about a 98% closing rate with
Correct.
agents?
Yes.
If Jeremy helps you to do this, and by the way, it's not just help setting it up. When he'll go through it as if you were the client in a lot of cases to help you see where you're not asking enough of the right questions or really helping them to see they have a problem. But when he does this with you, right now, like you just told me this morning, what case did you just close?
A couple of them. I helped an agent close a $2,000 life case, his first IUL case, and about a $100,000 annuity premium, all in one case. So.
Now that was $2,000 a month or $2,000?
$2,000 a month.
$2,000 a month. If you're thinking that this sounds like a big case, $3,000 in premium, I can tell you, when you start working with people and really helping them to see where they are and everything, I mean, the average case, like we said earlier, was $3,000 to $7,000 in commissions. Now, we're just talking about this is not a big, somebody wealthy or anything else, but he is getting $2,000 a month. So that's $24,000 a year, which is going to become, because we're overfunding it. So what is it, about $12,000 in commission, John?
$11,000 in target premium, just on the life insurance.
Okay, so $11,000 at 90%. So that's what, 9,800, 800 in commissions. How many of those would you have to make a month, or to make a year? All right. If you got any more questions, give me a call. Our number is 877-297-4608. 877-297-4608. If you want just to go review your situation, whatever, call us. We're here to help. All righty? Well, I want to thank you again. Thank everybody for attending. And wish you the best of luck, and hopefully we'll be working with you, and wish all of you and tell you to make it a great day. Bye now.